this first part, we're going to both review your pen tool icons and also I'm going to show you how layers work in Illustrator. So first, let's go ahead and grab our pen tool over here on our toolbar. If your setup does not look like mine, feel free to go to Window, Workspace, and reset your Essential Workspace so that way you see what I see. Really, you need to make sure that you have your toolbar and then you can see your Properties and Layers panels over here on the right. So I've opened up this document and I'm going to grab my pen tool here. Make sure it's your regular pen tool. We'll talk about the curvature tool later, so just make sure you have that one. And if you remember, when you start using the pen tool, you should have a star or asterisk showing that you're about to start a new shape. So if you recall, your geometric shapes are easy. It's simply clicking on the corners, connecting the dots. There's no dragging out curves. It's just simply click. And you'll see as soon as I click, that star goes away. And I'm going to work my way around the shape. And your goal of creating shapes in Illustrator is to make sure you close them up. Otherwise, weird things can happen. Because if I don't close this up and I go to start the next one, you can see how problems can arise from that. So to close up your shape, you should see a circle pop up. So you'll see this, and that just tells me when I click on that first point, it's going to close it up. Now, whatever yours looks like, yours could be set to white, it could be a different color. That is simply whatever your color setting is. And the last color I was using was red, so you'll see down here in my color panel. So I'm going to grab my select tool, and you can even change this in properties. So feel free to change this to whatever color, but please set it to have a solid fill with, let's give it a 2-point stroke. So you can see I can update my stroke here. And you can change the color of your stroke by clicking on that box outline and setting it to something. Okay, so show me that you can do that. Now, before we move on, I want to go over the layers panel. So if I click the layers, you'll see Illustrator does look kind of like Photoshop's layers, but it's actually a little different. You'll see here I have 2 layers. So I have my template that I'm working on, which is locked, so you don't do anything with that. But you'll see I can hit this triangle to open up things, because you'll see I'm going to open this up when I go with my pen tool. So grab your pen tool and start pen tooling this next shape. So click on your corners, work your way around, and you notice there on the layers panel, it has created another layer within your layer. So I have 2 paths tucked into layer 2. So they're on the same layer. You'll see if I turn them off, they're together. If you want to add a new layer, you push this button down here, just like in Photoshop, delete layer or selection or whatever you have up here. If you want to create sub-layers, like so, just like you did, that is what that button is. So I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit Control-Z and step back. So let's start with those. So from here, go ahead and use your selection tool, and you can kind of see how those are tucked in there. You can move them out. So if I were to want to move them out of this layer, I might have to create a new, and you can see how I can drag this path up into that path, and they are now on separate layers. You don't have to do that though, but just be aware of how layers are. They're typically have a layer and then you have objects within that layer. So I'm going to hit Control-Z because I do not want to have all those extra layers. So I'm going to go ahead and title this Geometric Shapes. You want to get in the habit of titling layers. And let's go ahead and make a new layer. And this is going to be for our next tutorial. We can title this Curves, because we're going to be working with curves after this. So go ahead and save and move on to the next tutorial.